Check, check. There we go. If you can hear us in the back in the social hall, we will begin our service in about 2 or 3 minutes. So if you want to clean up from your tables and join us in the sanctuary, we're going to begin our service in about 2 or 3 minutes. For those of you who are online with us on templeshalom.com and on YouTube, we have a lot of people here for dinner and we're moving people, so that's why we're a little late for you folks. But online, I promise you we'll be with you in just a couple of minutes as well. Thank you, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. Okay. Check, check. Can you guys hear this okay? That's all right? Okay. Hopefully they heard, I don't know. All right. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Bim, 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 in your Siddur, if you'll turn, you're going to be near the back, 642. 642. Right in the middle of the page, 642. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. This time you get to sing too. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, 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 Am Yisrael Chai. Oh Davidu Chai, oh Davidu Chai, oh Davidu, oh Davidu, oh Davidu Chai, oh Davidu Chai, oh Davidu Chai, oh Davidu, oh Davidu, oh Davidu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. A wonderful way to begin Shabbat on the evening of this Shabbat that honors Yom HaAtzmaut, our 75th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel. We're going to continue on page 130 as we begin to welcome in Shabbat with the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat. We begin with Psalm 95. Lechu neranena l'Adonai, let us sing joyfully to God. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, l'tzur yishenu, ekadma panav v'toda. Naria, naria, l'tzur yishenu, v'zira u'yalo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. On page 131, in the middle of the page, right where you see the paragraph break in Hebrew, Yismichu hashamayim, the heavens will be happy. V'tagel haaretz, and the land will rejoice as well. Yir am hayam, and also the sea, u'melo'o, and all that fills it. As we think of creation on Shabbat, all of God's creation on land and sea and sky, all give thanks for the beautiful power and majesty of God's creation. Yismichu hashamayim, Yismichu hashamayim, Yismichu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismichu hashamayim, Yismichu hashamayim, Yismichu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Melo'o. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Melo'o. Yismichu hashamayim, Yismichu hashamayim, Yismichu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. It always brings up when we sing some of these psalms very joyfully and people clap their hands in the middle of the psalm like we just did, the rules. I know Judaism has rules, you know? The rabbis in the Talmud, they spent years and hundreds of years talking about rules. And in the Talmud, what did they say about clapping during tefillah on Shabbat? They said that you can't clap on Shabbat when you sing. There are a couple of boos. I think we're Jews, so we can disagree with the Talmud rabbis. That's why they wrote the majority opinion and the minority opinion in the Talmud. But here's the reason why. And it needs a little bit of discussion on this evening, particular for this particular week. And here's why. The rabbis said that because the temple is destroyed and Jews don't rule over the land of Israel, we are all in mourning. And so we have to be sad. Even when we're happy about prayer, there's a little bit of sadness in our prayer because we're mourning for the temple and Jews don't rule over Israel anymore. 2 days ago, on Wednesday, we celebrated Israel's 75th birthday, which tells me, I hope you all agree with me, that Jews now rule over the land of Israel. And even though there's no temple on the Temple Mount, because we're all against World War III, and that's what would have to happen before we build a new temple there, but Jews now rule over the land of Israel. So I think that we as modern Jews get to outvote the Talmud rabbis who said we need to mourn that Jews are not in charge of Israel anymore. But Jews are in charge of Israel, and we're joyful that we are because we just celebrated Israel's 75th birthday. And so because of that, we get to be joyful and clap our hands when we pray. So if you feel like you need to clap during some of the Psalms, you're allowed to. We're going to turn to the next page, which is Psalm 97. And 4 lines from the bottom of the page, you will find the words in the Hebrew at the bottom of the page. Did I say the right page? What is it? That's the page right there, 132, just like I didn't say before, exactly. 132, that's what I get for trying to tell you page numbers without looking. But on page 132, at the bottom of the page, 4 lines from the bottom of the page, Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, light will be the reward for righteousness. And Yishrei Lev Simcha, and happiness will be the reward for being good-hearted. So if we are righteous and good-hearted people, we will be rewarded with light and with happiness. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. 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 Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Yishrei Lev Simcha. Lai 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 Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. On page 135, the very bottom of the Hebrew, exalt Adonai our God, and we bow down at God's holy mountain. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, because Adonai our God is kadosh. We'll talk about that word a little bit later in our service. We usually translate it as holy. Lo nembu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho. Lo nembu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu ronemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu ronemu. Ronemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho. Ronemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kosho. On the bottom of page 137, the bottom of the Hebrew, I should say, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, may God give strength to God's people. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, may God bless all of God's people with shalom, peace, completeness, well-being. Lai, 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 continue as we turn to page 138 and 139, as we welcome in Shabbat, as the image of a bride walking into a wedding with the words of Lecha Dodi. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela, la 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 la, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Shamor Bezachor, Divurecha, Ishmi'anu El HaMiyuchad, Adonai Echad, Shemo Echad, V'Shemo Tiferet, V'Shemo la 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 la, Echad Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Likrat Shabbat, Lechu V'Nelcha, Ki Mekor HaBracha, Merosh Mikedem Mesucha, Sof Ma'aseh B'Machshava Tchila, la 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 la, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Verse number 5. He's already, Kiva Orech, Uri, Shir Davedi, Kivod Adonai Alai, la 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 la, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. We rise as we face the door. We go to the final verse of the Chadodi as we welcome in the image of the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, la 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 la, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela, la 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 la, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. Lecha, Lecha Dodi, Likrat, Likrat Kala, Pine, Pine, Shabbat Nikabela. And while you're standing, since we've greeted the Shabbat bride, we'll greet each other to your left, to your right, behind you, in front of you. Turn to everyone around you and wish everyone Shabbat Shalom. And for those of you online with us, Shabbat Shalom to all of you as well. Happy to have you with us on this beautiful Shabbat evening celebrating Israel's 75th birthday. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for greeting everyone around you and for, we can all wave to the people online. Hi, people online. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. I think you can see the first 3 rows online, or maybe 4. The rest of you, they don't know you're here, but I promise you online, they're all here. So on page 140, a psalm of Shabbat, Psalm 92, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it is good to give thanks to God. Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, it is sing of God's name most high. Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon. Hagi baboker haslecha, ve'emunatecha baleilot, alei asor ve'alei ina ve'lalei higayon v'chirot. Mizmor shir yom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'folecha, b'maaseh yadecha Adonai. Ma gadu ma'asecha Adonai me'od, amtu machshavoteh. Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezemer l'shimcha elyon. The Kabbalists would say that on Shabbat we are given an extra soul. And so we need an extra angel, because we always have an angel that watches over our soul. And on Shabbat we get an extra angel that we pick up at the synagogue on Friday night. So thank you for coming to pick up your extra soul and your extra angel. We, on this Shabbat, that extra angel watches over our extra soul. On page 142, kind of an international take on these words were written somewhere in Central Europe about angels who would join us in the land of Israel. The melody that we will sing here in Colorado Springs was written by a rabbi whose last name is Brazil, who lives in Brooklyn, Israel. What else can I throw in there? Played on a guitar made in El Cajon, California by a rabbi born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I think that's enough geography to cover all of it. And we'll welcome those angels with these words right here on page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bo'achim Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichen Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. La 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 la. La page 144. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba v'amad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'meru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'alam olam me'amaya yitbarach v'ishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dukudesha v'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimeru amen. We rise, we turn to page 146. As with the words of Baruch Hu, we invite ourselves and each other to pray. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed We can all be seated. We'll read together at the top of page 149 in English and then the blessing at the bottom in Hebrew as we give thanks for creation. Praised are you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praised are you, Adonai our God, for whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 150, we give thanks for the gift of Torah, for being our pathway through life for each and every day, each and every year, for being our guidance of good and not so good, for being our guide for a way for each of us to be better as each year goes by. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta Torah mitzvot hukim mishpatim otanu limadita al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shofrim nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'bahem nehegei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'bahem nehegei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'bahem nehegei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'bahem nehegei yomam v'layla ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu Tovatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Praised are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. On page 152 and 153, we come to the words of Shema. And since we are just a couple of days past Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's birthday, we'll use a melody written by a great Israeli songwriter. I guess it should call him a great Israeli rock and roll star, because he was a rock star in Israel. He wasn't a rabbi or a cantor, he was a bona fide rock star. And he just actually died just this last year. His name is Stika Pick. And this was, on pop radio, this melody was a top 10 hit. I know it seems weird that the Shema is a top 10 hit, but in the late 1970s, when he put it on an album of other rock songs, it became a big hit. He played it on the piano, but we'll sing it with the guitar. And we'll use it, as he did, both as a way of reaching into the beauty of the words and a way of reaching into the beauty up in the heavens. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod, Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod, Le'olam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam shivtecha v'beitecha u'lechtecha b'derech u'shochbecha u'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim ve'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'yod lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. At the top of page 157, we read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. And as we march together toward freedom, we sing the words that our ancient ancestors sang. Mi chamocha, the top of page 158. Lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'eda ba'kodesh, Torah tehilot osefele, Torah tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze eli anu ve'amru, ze eli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 la, yai lai lai la lai la 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 la, yai lai la lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 la 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 la. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugoalo miyad chazak mimehinu. Baruch atah Adonai Goal Yisrael. On page 160, we ask God to lie us down in peace and cause us to rise again to life, and to spread a shelter of your peace over us, to watch our going and our coming for now and for always. Our spiritual bedtime prayer. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Those three lines that are indented in the middle of the Hebrew. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoinu l'chaim u'shalom mitzavei Adonai. Laila 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 Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukkah shalom aleinu ve'apol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. As we turn to page 162, we are reminded that the people of Israel will keep Shabbat. Observing Shabbat through the ages is a covenant for all time. The sign between God and the people of Israel, for God said, on 6 days I created the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day God rested and was refreshed. As we sing the words of this reminder, Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam v'li'olam. Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam v'li'olam. V'nivim b'nei Israel Oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Israel HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדור ולדור. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדור ולדור. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדור ולדור. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדור ולדור. In a moment, we'll stand for the Amidah. On page 164 is where we'll turn to begin. We'll begin with the Zimun on that page, the meditation on that page. And the idea that the rabbis had in mind when they wrote the beginning paragraph of the Amidah, and this is a much longer class. I'll teach it in the fall or something. But the idea was that we should transport ourselves from where we are into another place to say the Amidah. It means that by the time we get into the middle of the Amidah, we should no longer think that we're standing next to our family, our friends, our neighbors, our fellow congregants here in Temple Shalom in Colorado Springs. But instead, well, in the rabbi's mind, maybe we're standing in front of the burning bush and we are Moses. Or perhaps we're standing in the ancient temple in Jerusalem. Or perhaps we're standing, well, wherever that place might be that is your place. That place that takes you away from the normal world, and that place that takes you into your special moment where you can be away from the world. I don't know where that place is for you. Maybe it's by a mountain, maybe it's by a beach, maybe it's by a lake, I don't know. Maybe it's some place from your childhood, or maybe it's some special place from a relationship. But wherever that special place is, where you can not be here, and you can be in that special moment, your burning bush moment, we might call it. That's what the Amidah is about, to take yourself to that other place, have your one-on-one conversation with God, and at the end, come back here to be with the community. And that's the idea of what we hope to achieve. None of us are perfect, so we don't do it every time. But the hope is that we make it there, as we now rise on page 164. And we use the Zimun to bring us into that place in the first few paragraphs, to be our transport until we come to our silent prayers where we can be at our burning bush moment. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sifatai Tifta. Na 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 Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sifatai Tifta. Na 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 Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sifatai Tifta. Na 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 Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 tehilatecha. Anana, na, 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 Adonai. Anana, na, 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 Sukatai tivka. Anana, na, 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 Ufiagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'Neihem L'Ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Morid Hatav Mechakel Chayim Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim Umatir Asubim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micha Mocha Ba'al Givurot Umido Melach Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yahalelucha Selah Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue silently 172 or 173 through 180 to 181. When you're finished with your silent prayers, your burning bush moment, please be seated. page 180. Back in the late 1960s to the late 1970s in Israel, there was a thing called the Hasidic Song Festival. And if I played you most of the songs that were performed in the Hasidic Song Festival, I wasn't there. I'm just telling the story. If I sang most of the songs that were played at the Hasidic Song Festival over that, 10 plus year period of time, you would know almost none of them. But you would know this one, which did not win, but became the most popular song and is now sung in synagogues and Jewish communities all over the world. It came out of this song festival, and the woman who wrote it, her name is Nurit Hirsch. She still lives near the beach in Tel Aviv. Oh, say shalom b'roma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'inu amen. Oh, say shalom b'roma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, we turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing. We ask God to bring refuah shlema to Brian Zabel, Gnendel Bat Sima, Azi Rahmani, Avraham Ben Meir, Tova Bat Rasha, Howard Messerman, Eleanor Siegelman, Robert Ozick, Fran Hart, Harry Salzman, Aharon Ben Avraham Vasara, Sheila Bacol, Rachel Bat Aryeh Bechana, Larry Ritterband, Joanne Superstein, Sarah Tischler, Gladys Korn, Kayla Marie Vriek and Lila Vriek, Stanley Sachs, Carolyn East, Betty Schwarzkopf, Karen Thursby, and Nick Cruz. Do we have any other names that anybody would like to include? We'll start on this side of the room. Thank you. Thank you. Any others on this side of the room? Thank you. Any others all the way down in the back? Thank you. And how about on this side of the room? Any names for healing? Thank you. Thank you. You see how? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any others? Did I miss anyone? For all those we've named and for all those in need, as you turn to page 371. We ask God to bring each one of them refuah shlema, complete healing. May come to them bimhera ve'amenu, very quickly in our time. We join together in the middle of the pillars. Tomorrow morning, we will read from the Torah from a double portion. It's the second week in a row of reading from a double portion. This double portion is called Achrei Mot Kiddushim. We will, because we read in the triennial cycle, we will read from Achrei Mot, and we won't get to Kiddushim until a year from now. So you'll have to get to that part. You come next year and you'll get to that part. But that's the part that I actually want to talk about a little bit tonight. Because Kiddushim begins and it tells us, Kiddushim Tihiyu, holy you will be. You might remember one of the Psalms we sang at the beginning of our service. We say, and we bow down at God's holy mountain, Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, because Adonai our God is holy. And for all of the millennia that Judaism existed, rabbis have written about what does it mean to be holy. Kadosh, holy, sanctified, separated from that which is mundane. We could use all of those things as a translation. But what does it mean to be holy? Well, since rabbis have been writing about it for 1,000 years, I could read to you from what rabbis have written. We'll be here for a few months as I read all of it. But instead I was thinking about it and I thought, well, it's really what we tried to create in the movement that led to 75 years ago, the creation of the state of Israel. And what does it mean to be holy? It means to fail, and then to succeed, and then to fail, and then to succeed. And the key component is that every time we fail, we try to use that failure to succeed. There's a famous quote from Ben Gurion. I don't believe he ever said it, but it's attributed to him. And it's said in many different ways, but most historians, there's no documentation that he actually said this, but people talk about it as if he actually said this. And he said, supposedly, he said, we will know, David Ben Gurion, the first prime minister of the state of Israel, we will know that Israel is a nation like every other nation in the world when there are prostitutes walking down the streets of Tel Aviv. That's the quote. I really don't believe he said it, but it's attributed to him all the time. Maybe he said something similar, but the idea is this. Israel will be a country like every other country when people stop idealizing the idea of Israel and talk about Israel as a real country that has real successes as well as real problems, that sometimes fails in trying to solve those problems and sometimes succeeds in trying to solve those problems. And I think that's what holiness is about. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being like God, because we can't be like God. But it's about taking those times when we fail and turning them into the next time, or maybe the time after that, or maybe the time after that, into a success. How do we find where we've fallen flat and lift ourselves up with the idea that as we lift ourselves up, we look toward God and lift ourselves higher and higher, and we lift others higher and higher. In the morning, when we say in the Kedusha, in our Amidah, we say Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot. And when we do, the tradition says, I'll stand out here because I'm short and you can't see me before that bima. We go like this, we go Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Why do we go up on our tippy toes like that? To get closer to God. That's the idea. Are we getting closer to God by going up on our tippy toes? No, of course we're not. But we have a lot of prayer choreography, standing, bending, bowing, going up on our toes. And the choreography is there to help us really bring the prayers into ourselves. If we sit in a chair and we say all the prayers all the time, we might become complacent sitting in the chair. And so we stand up, we bow, we lift ourselves up a little bit toward God. We, hishtachavu is the word we use in Hebrew. We usually translate it as to bow, which is an okay translation, but it really means to prostrate ourselves, to bow down all the way down to the ground. We shake a lulav and an etrog in the sukkah, right? We sit in our bed and we say Shema before we go to sleep. We do all of these actions to internalize the prayers so that we will then take these words, which if we just say them being words sitting in the synagogue, they're words, they're nice words, they're poetry, they're beautiful, but we need to then physically embrace those words and act on those words. And when we do, we will probably fail until we do it again, and maybe again, and we succeed. For 75 years, Israel has failed and it has succeeded. This crazy idea that we could take a country that ceased to exist thousands of years ago and rebuild it, take a land where you can't grow food and grow food, take a language which only people sitting in the yeshiva would speak or people sitting in the synagogue would speak, but no one spoke in the street, and bring a language back to life, bring people from the four corners of the earth into the land, build cities where there had not been cities, drain swamps and build farms, grow food in the middle of an arid desert, become the technological hub for more than half of the world. All of these things of an infant country, 75 years old. It was a crazy idea. We're going to go into a place where there are Jews there, but there aren't that many Jews, and we're going to build a country. And along the way, Israeli governments have failed, and out of those failures, Israeli governments succeeded. Settlements failed, and out of those failed settlements, success. We even eventually wound up with a gold medal in the Olympics. Israel's first gold medal, the first medal for Israel in the Olympics was a woman by the name of Yael Arad. She won a silver medal in judo in the 1992 Olympics. I was in Israel when it happened. People ran through the streets for hours carrying Israeli flags. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. People were setting off fireworks, screaming and yelling. And I was with 150 kids from America, and they said, why are these people screaming? We said, Yael Arad won a silver medal. And they went, silver medal? Pfft, America gets gold medals all the time. Big deal. It was the first medal ever for Israel. The first gold medal for Israel, a guy by the name, it's perfect. He won in windsurfing. His first name is Gal. Gal Friedman. Gal in Hebrew means wave. A guy named Wave won a medal for surfing. It's pretty good. And then we had wines grown in the hills of Israel that started winning gold medals over wines from California and France. We had Israelis who started winning Nobel Prizes in medicine and in chemistry and in economics, in literature. A little tiny strip of land that's smaller than almost every one of the states in the United States. And in this little strip of land, all kinds of greatness from much success that was built on all kinds of failure, because that's how we learn. And how do we become holy? By failing, but failing upward, failing in the direction of God, so that eventually those failures will lead to successes. As we, like the state of Israel, continue to build on what we learn along the way. And as Israel has celebrated 75 years, where there have been wars and there has been peace, there's been failure and success, there's been falafel like you had tonight. The debate of who invented falafel, that's for another night. The Israelis say it was the Israelis, and I'm ready to give them the benefit of the doubt near Yom HaAtzmaut. But just like we will do, may Israel do as well. If you've been, you know the beauty of the place and the beauty of the people and the beauty of the history. If you haven't been, go. The airport's just right over here. Just get on a plane. If you want to start saving now, many people were in the room. I'm looking around the room. We had a bunch of people in the room who were on our 2019 Temple Shalom trip. If you'd like to go on what I believe will be the Temple Shalom 2025 trip, $250 a month. Start saving now. Put it in your account. $250 a month from now till then. It'll pay for your trip, and you'll come with me, and we'll have a great time in the summer of 2025. In the meantime, read a book about Israel. Listen to an Israeli song. Go online and read some Israeli newspapers. And learn a little bit about what's going on there, because it's an amazing place that sometimes disappoints us and sometimes makes us cheer. I say the same thing about my own family. I'm sure you do too, right? Sometimes disappoints us and sometimes makes us cheer, but we love it because it's ours, just like our family. May Israel grow from strength to strength, and may those who come after us 75 years from now celebrate another beautiful 75 years. We're going to complete our service with a few final prayers. We'll turn to page 586 as we look at the bottom of the page and we rise for Aleinu. Wait, what? I was going to do it after Aleinu, but yeah, we will. Page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula liyotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu kogoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamalachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu noteh shamayim veyoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro bashamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo, v'gofeh meheromim, hu Eloheinu Einod, Emet Malkeinu Efesulato, Kakatu B'Torato, Yadata Hayom Behashevota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hua Elohim, Bashamayim Mima'al, Ve'al haaretz, mitachad einod. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi omed yimloch bechavod, kakatuv b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'ne'emar, Adonai lemelech, al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, ushemo echad, ushemo echad. Page 570 remains standing. 570. Hineni muchanu mezuman, hineni muchanu mezuman, hineni muchanu mezuman l'kayem mitzvah oseh shel sfirat ha'omer. I'm ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu sfirat ha'omer. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with your commandments and commands us to count the omer. Hayom shlosha v'esrim yom, shehem shlosha shavuot, u'shnei yamim la'omer. Today is the 23rd day of the Omer, which is 3 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. We can be seated. In our yard sites this week, we recall the memories of Elaine Ager, Joe Siegel, Morris Siegel, Charles Clark, George Hawley, Isidore Buckstein, Joseph Morris, Luba Gendelev, Bella Albert, Carol Miller, Elizabeth Karnick, Jean Sokol, Mikhail Blanter, Mildred Pessis, Philip Ritterband, Alan Goodhealth, Harry Guth, Phineas Bernstein, Aaron Solomon, Jack Ackerman, Martin Dumont, Rose Olbaum, Barbara Superstein, Esther Levy, Irving Bartner, Leah Rayfield, Miriam Silverman, Nee Howard, Sahara Ashmead, and James Trent. We are also in the period of Shloshim for Marion Sonderman, Suzanne Heim, and Eric Maher. Are there any other yard sites that anyone is observing this week? Yehu Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be an eternal blessing. We ask mourners to rise and those whose custom it is to stand with them. As we turn in our Siddur to page 598, as in their memory we sanctify God's name. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shnei Rabbah, Ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala u'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya, Yitvarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yit'aleh, V'yithalal, Shemei d'Kudusha B'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata, Tushbichata v'nechemata, Ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'monav, Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We can all be seated. It's that microphone, I promise. Before we close our service, we have a few announcements. Do I have a board member who has any announcements? Well, Danny, you have an announcement, right? Danny, what's your announcement? There we go. There's food. Indeed, we thank them. So again, a reminder, the congregational meeting on Sunday, May 7th, breakfast with the board, followed by the meeting. And we do need a quorum here because we have to elect the board for the new year. And the bylaws tell us that we need a quorum to do that. So please come be part of the quorum so that we can do that. And also, again, just want to, for those who are online and did not hear, thank you to our program committee and Beth Zimmerman, who oversees our potluck dinners, and to the folks who sponsored our falafel tonight in honor of Israel's 75th birthday. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, our Shabbat morning services will read Torah, Parashat Acharei Mot Kedoshim, our double portion. And so please join us for services tomorrow. Sunday morning will be the final installment for this fiscal year of They Never Taught Me That in Hebrew School. At 11 o'clock, I'll be teaching from 11 to 12. You don't need to know anything other than how to get here. But if you can show up between 11 and 12, this class is called What's the Deal with Kosher Wine? So if you want to know what the deal with why is there kosher wine, what is it all about? 11 o'clock this Sunday morning. Additionally, 1 week from tonight, we have a lot of people here tonight. I would like to have 3 or 4 times the number of people we have tonight. Next week, very excited, the United States Air Force Academy Jewish Choir will be helping us in our Kabbalat Shabbat service. The choir was disbanded at the Air Force Academy in the very early 1990s. And so for the first time in about 30 years, there's now a Jewish choir at the Air Force Academy again, and their first ever public performance will be our Friday night service 1 week from tonight. So please come, bring your friends. They've been rehearsing a lot. This afternoon, I spoke with Rabbi Saul Rappaport, who is the rabbi of the Air Force Academy right now, and they are very, very excited about coming to Temple Shalom. They've been rehearsing. It's going to be a wonderful evening to have them help lead us into Shabbat. So please come and join us next Friday night. It's going to be a really wonderful evening. And if they get good reviews from us, those get noted by the commander of the Air Force Academy, which gets noted by the chief of the Air Force at the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which maybe gets those cadets an invitation to the White House Hanukkah party. And that's my goal, is for us to help them get to be able to sing, because West Point does it and Annapolis does it, and the Air Force Academy's never been invited, ever, to sing at the White House party. So if Temple Shalom can help them get to the party, that would be a great mitzvah for us to do, to help them, give them good reviews and get them there so they can sing at the White House. And plus, you'll get to hear some beautiful music from these young cadets at our Shabbat service. Please check the calendar, the newsletter, your Tuesday update each week for more things that are coming up in the future, because lots of wonderful things coming up at Temple Shalom. We're going to bring our service to an end on page 678. 678, as we'll ask you all to rise, and in honor of Israel's 75th birthday, we'll ask you to join together as we sing the words of the national anthem of Israel, the words of Hatikvah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to those of you joining us online. The rest of us will go to the back and we'll make a little kiddush together. Shabbat Shalom.